Alt season activated.
Let's get into it.
So today, guys, we are going to be taking another look at the alt season and whether or not this thing has actually kickstarted and potentially been activated here. Obviously, we're going to have a look at the Bitcoin chart. We're going to be taking a look at the Bitcoin action and just see what's been going on with the price of BTC. And what does this potentially mean for the altcoins and the alt season? We'll obviously have a look at the total alt season and altcoins as a whole, and find out where we've actually gone so far and what likely scenarios are to come in the next kind of few weeks or so. As we get into this video, guys, if you do find it useful and informative, hit that like button. We both really do appreciate that. And of course, if you're new to the channel and you want to stay up to date with absolutely everything we do here, including those new cryptocurrencies, hidden gems, then do consider subscribing to the channel. By subscribing, you'll be kept up to date with absolutely everything we do here at Cheeky Crypto. It is free and you'll stay well informed, so why not? And Chris, is there anything else you would like to add before we jump on down to the desktop and start taking a look at the BTC and altcoins?
Well, lots of people have been asking for us to take a look at, where we are in the market and what we expect to happen. So yeah, we're delivering. There we go.
There you go. Right. Okay. Let's jump down to the desktop and start reviewing what's going on with Bitcoin and the BTC price, and then jump over to the altcoins and review what's going on there.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so I've cleaned up the charts a bit here to make it a little bit easier to see, but this is a Bitcoin to the USDT, and this is the daily chart. Binance is the data source for this piece of analysis, and what we're going to be doing is taking a look at the most recent price action here, what happened in the last particular fall, and where that obviously went up to a little bit higher, and then obviously pulled down into today's recent action. We'll also have a look at a little bit of the history as to where things have been fighting as well. So let's start with the current position that we've been in. We have this Fibonacci retracement on here from that high point that was achieved on the 13th of March and the point that was actually coming down to the 16th of February, that low point down here. And the reason that I drew this particular Fibonacci was so that I could see how high we were going to rise in price as we retraced back up. And what I placed on here was this yellow line. This yellow line came in at 60,635. And what happened here was that we basically fell short, right? We didn't actually hit that yellow line and we didn't go past it. And therefore, what was then to follow was this, a lower low on the previous low over here. Okay, so placing this Fibonacci retracement in this particular way from the top to the bottom and retracing it higher, we were looking to get about, a little bit above that 786. Now we hit the 786 line, but we didn't actually go far enough above that 786 to trigger my yellow line scenario. So what you saw here was that previous high of the wick of the candle over here, which was that trigger point. Okay, so what we had is we had that yellow line, that was my entry level there. So in theory, if we didn't get to that point, then ultimately I was expecting that to happen, okay? And this was something that I then started talking about on the channel, Chris, where I was saying I'm not sure about Bitcoin. It didn't do what I thought it was going to do. It didn't pass that yellow line, and therefore I'm more bearish on it at the moment. And obviously it came back down here. We also saw it rise up here again, right? We saw this one get into the exact same position. It went above that 786, but failed to get above my yellow line and fell right back down into here. Then, it got a little bit, I think, of Elon fever, Coinbase, and all that kind of good stuff. And we did pass our yellow line. So it passes the yellow line over here on the 10th of April, back testing on that 702 area, and then obviously set that new high. And then obviously since then, it's kind of crumbled right back down into here, right? Which we're familiar with what's happened today. So what I'm actually going to go do is I'm going to take this Fibonacci retracement and delete it, okay? Because we don't want to do that. We want to do exactly the same exercise again. We're going to take this fib, we're going to take it from that high point that was achieved up here, and we're going to drop it down to that low point over here. This then gives us this yellow line at this point here, just above our 786 in the same way that it was over this side, right? So that's that particular candle here, the wick, the high wick on the 17th of April. that's my entry point, right? Are we going to go past my yellow line at 62,483? If we do not, then I'm expecting us to set a lower low. The question then becomes, how low does that have to go? And obviously when we had this one down here, it didn't really correspond with anything on the daily, maybe the weekly. I haven't looked at Bitcoin in too much detail in that regard, but ultimately I would be expecting this thing to crumble down. Now, when it comes to Bitcoin and the alt season, well, if that was the top that we've had up here and we didn't actually go up to that 73K or anything like that, then ultimately, yeah, we could start to see this thing crumble back down again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some key areas, right? So obviously, if we start coming down towards this 43K area, so I'm going to just draw a box in here. Anything inside this box here is going to be a bit of a problem area for us, and it's going to indicate that actually, yeah, we might be into alt season. Okay, and Bitcoin's basically effectively over. It's not going to go for those high levels that, you know, we were kind of spoken about, right? Loads of popular people, Chris, loads of YouTubers and you know, mainstream media, etc., probably talking about, you know, ridiculously high numbers, right? Those institutions are 300K, 500K, $1 million, you know, all those ridiculously high numbers, and it's just never supported by any of the technical data. So if it comes down to this box here, I'm pretty confident that we'll never see those high numbers that those guys were promising everyone. So instead, I would say actually this is kind of an indication that this is potentially over completely. Now, what I will do is I'm going to mark the I'll mark that high level just up here. It's going to be approximately around here, about $44. So that's a horizontal ray. I'm just going to leave that on there so you can get an idea. If we ever come down that low, then yeah, we might bounce from here and move on up, or ultimately crumble from that point and continue down. And obviously, we'll put a few additional boxes on here when we get down to those lower areas of like the 30 odd K. Around there, that kind of zone. So we'll be watching those areas as well. But ultimately, if we don't pass that yellow line at the top, I'm kind of expecting us to fall down to at least 45 into that zone there. And then if that doesn't hold, if I just pull that down a second, if that doesn't hold, then we are going right down into the 30K, so, you know, sub 30K at that point. So Bitcoin could effectively be over at this point, Chris, if it does not go above our 62,483, approximately that line just there. That's where it's got to retrace back up to if we're expecting, you know, Bitcoin to continue and set new all-time highs. Now, if Bitcoin does go ahead and set those all-time highs again, then effectively alt season can continue to kind of carry on as it's doing, nothing parabolic in insane levels. But if Bitcoin crumbles down, that's when we start seeing a cross, right? We start seeing people rolling out of Bitcoin into the altcoins themselves, and altcoins will start to rally significantly. And there'll be a cross, right? So at the moment, we're not seeing that decoupling. We're seeing altcoins tumble down with our Bitcoin at the moment. In theory, what would actually happen is the altcoins start to go up with Bitcoin going down, and then you get that decoupling, and then alt season starts effectively. And then it can top off at the top there, and basically go and set those all-time highs for the altcoins, and whilst Bitcoin is continuing to kind of, you know, go down over time. This is why you see obviously the Bitcoin dominance drop down significantly lower than where it is today. It is going down slowly, but obviously until you get that proper decoupling between the altcoins and Bitcoin, you're not necessarily going to see all of that. But if we go over into this chart, Chris, and just continue with that one, this is all of altcoins, right? So this is the crypto total market cap excluding Bitcoin, and this is a dollar value calculated by TradingView, and it's a daily chart, right? So this is what effectively has been happening. This over here is basically your altcoins in the 2018 bull run. That's the top that they achieved, okay? And then over here, we saw that breakout event, okay? So that actually effectively happened in February. If I zoom on in here, and then we obviously have the double tap down on the previous high, which we often talk about on this channel. We usually see double taps all the time, all over the place. So we had the breakout event. We almost got to that first hurdle there. And then obviously we come back down, double tap, and then we move on up. And again, effectively actually double tapping at the top here as well before going ahead and moving on up out of this zone. And this is what we're starting to see, right? Back tests usually happen, okay? So in the same way that we had this breakout event here, we come down, right? We back tested that line. We then obviously double tap the top. We come back. we then shoot on up, and then we're coming back down to back test on the previous area. So yeah, absolutely nothing about this bothers me or scares me in the slightest. That's kind of standard. I'm going to go thread a horizontal ray just on here, so you get an idea and a bit of a flavor as to what kind of levels we might be falling back down to. Nothing there bothers me in the slightest. So that's pretty standard stuff, right? So at the moment, we're not seeing that decoupling, right? Bitcoin has had a correction. The altcoins had a correction. So they're not decoupling. They're still following Bitcoin. That supports the theory that Bitcoin may still have more left in the tank. It might go ahead and set an additional all-time high. We'll have to watch that one. And of course, if it goes down to those lower levels, I'm fully expecting then the altcoins will come back down here, back test on this area, then shoot off and do their parabolic runs, leaving Bitcoin behind. And yeah, so things on this altcoin chart, Chris, they're not exactly scaring me in the slightest. There's loads of room to grow here with the altcoins, and yeah, nothing about that is different. We talk about those double taps all the time, where we tap on those previous high points and we back test on those high points as well to confirm that those are areas of support now. And when you look at it from an all altcoin perspective, it's doing exactly as you would look at, or exactly the same as you would look at any particular altcoin as well, which we normally do quite regularly on all of those live streams, etc. with you guys. So hopefully none of that is unfamiliar with you, and you're fairly, comfortable with that kind of concept. Now, what's interesting about this is I have put that Fibonacci retracement on here just to give us an indication as to how high things are going to go. And again, this is up to debate as to how high you think these things will eventually go. Now, from that previous high of the previous bull run and where the things topped out here on the altcoins, down to the low point over here and over here, which was a double tap, by the way. So we had that up the top, we double tapped the bottom, and then we shot on up. We tested there, we've gone up, we're testing back again. So everything looks that pretty standard, right? And this is actually showing us, guys, that we'll be slowly heading towards a $1.19 trillion market cap for all altcoins. That's the second price target, the 2.618 Fibonacci extension, followed by a 1.64 trillion. Okay, that's the 3.618. And then at the top there, we're talking about just under $2 trillion for those altcoins. That's a $1.91 trillion. So again, loads of room here. We're basically saying effectively close to doubling the current market cap for those altcoins to happen still. That's still on the table, whereas something like Bitcoin has maybe only like 10% left in the tank, right? It hasn't got a huge amount according to the Fibonacci extensions. So yeah, definitely something to be considering here. There's a decoupling that has not happened yet, but it does not mean that it will not happen, and it could just indicate to us now that the alt season has basically been activated, and we're pretty much on the cusp of everything kind of going parabolic for these altcoins. And there's going to be a lot of euphoria around that, Chris, because everyone's going to get quite excited when they start seeing their portfolios grow quite massively in a very short space of time. But do bear in mind, guys, it doesn't last forever, and it's important to make sure you have your exit strategies all lined up. If Bitcoin's taught us anything today, is you don't want to be caught off guard by it, right, Chris?
Yeah, for sure. And you've had the Coinbase IPO, so that there is a chance that there's just manipulation going on here in the market. And if that's the case, this is just a usual thing that we see on a weekend, which is what we kind of sort of covered off this morning in the short live stream that we did. So yeah, all good.
Absolutely, guys. Hopefully this has eased you guys. It makes you feel a little bit easier holding those altcoins in an uncertainty situation that we're in today. And for me and Chris, it doesn't bother us in the slightest. This is business as usual. It's a standard crypto day. You get the volatility. But yeah, ultimately, guys, this is basically just meaning it's pretty standard. Bitcoin will fall whilst the altcoins will eventually go parabolic. So we could just be on the cusp of some fantastic altcoin price discovery. So do watch that space incredibly closely. If you found this video useful, hit that like button. We both really do appreciate that. And of course, if you're new to the channel and you want to stay up to date with those new cryptocurrencies, hidden gems that we talk about here, then do consider subscribing to the channel. By subscribing, you'll be kept up to date with absolutely everything we do here at Cheeky Crypto. It is free. You'll stay well informed, so why not? And with all of that said and done and out of the way, we hope everyone has a fantastic day, and we'll catch you all in the next one.
Yeah, take care.